Hello and welcome to the Federal. The Union government introduced the Waqf Amendment Bill in the Parliament this session. Today we discuss the bill with Mr. Naved Sarim. He is a Supreme Court lawyer and an expert on legal and constitutional matters. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sarim. So before we start the discussion on the details of the bill, I want to ask you what is the Waqf Board and what is the role of the board in the lives of a common Muslim citizen? I ask this question because not many people are aware of the Waqf Board.
So that's an interesting question. The short answer is the Waqf Board is the state level or in some cases even central level organization which has superintendence over Waqf properties and the administration of Waqf properties. What are Waqf properties? Waqf properties are basically trusts created under Muslim law. They can be done either for a specific purpose, like under the Indian Trust Act, like in the English trusts, for somebody's children or somebody's family, if somebody is not well in the family, or they can be done publicly, that a school is set up, a hospital is set up, a library is set up. So the relevance for the ordinary Muslim depends on whether they rely on any services provided by such Waqf. This Waqf was certainly a much more present feature of Muslim community life and generally community life. It's not that non-Muslims do not benefit from these works. Around 100 years ago, nowadays, of course, most people would tend to go to government schools or private schools, government hospitals or private hospitals. So the relevance has decreased, but it can't be said that there is no relevance. Apart from that, Waqf trusts happen to sit on very valuable Waqf property. So that also makes it a matter of public concern.
Sir, a lot of people complain that Waqf board members do not change. How will this bill change this system? And my second question is, will this bill allow a new Waqf board to be formed?
It does allow new Waqf board to be formed, except that it doesn't bring in any changes which are required. See, if you're saying that a system has flaws, what is the first thing you should do? You should talk to the stakeholders. Has that been done? No. There are problems with the existing Waqf system. In fact, if there were proper public consultations, I think I, for one, would have quite a few suggestions to give. So you need reforms. Now, it's not right to say that Waqf boards never change. They do change. There are political appointees as well. There are elected persons as well. So they do change, and there's a system for it. But to bring in an ill thought out change without any input from the relevant stakeholders. See, you saying that I'm doing this to help the ordinary Muslim, the ordinary person, the Muslim woman. Talk to them. Talk to them about how does it help you, whether this helps you or not. Because as things stand, the only things remarkable in this particular law are not the reconstitution of the Waqf board, which seems an attempt to kind of bring government control over Waqf properties. The most important thing is that it seems to have provisions that will ensure that any land declared as government land, whether earlier or now, stops being Waqf land. In that sense, it seems more like a land grab than an amendment to a law which needs reform.
So the bill states that only a practicing Muslim for 5 years can donate the property to the Waqf. Now,
Yeah.
who will who has the right to identify a person as a practicing or a non-practicing Muslim? What is the meaning of this
Absolutely.
amendment?
Absolutely. See, so these are the problem with the Waqf is that it relies on Muslim personal law, Sharia law, right? Now there is a Muslim personal law, like in any system of personal law in the world, different persons, different sects will have differing interpretations. Like Deobandis, you have Barelvis, you have Darul Uloom, you have Khojas, you have there are many sects of Islam, many divisions within Islam itself. So they say that in my particular sect, my particular denomination, this is the rule or that is the rule. So from that point of view, you always are going to have differing interpretations. So when you say that, look, this person, he has to be practicing for 5 years, so you are thinking from a very that the this in a way this is what the government thinks, right? Either in UP or the center or other state BJP governments, that there is an attempt to convert people. So this is basically to ensure that nobody who's newly converted donates their property, which I don't think has been happening in any case. Let me tell you, as a practicing lawyer, I don't know how many new works are being created. We get, queries for professional help. People want to set up companies, they want to set up non-profit. They ask, should I set up a trust, a society, or a not-for-profit company? What's called a Section 25 company under the new law, New Companies Act, Section 8 under the old. So that is what the options are before people. Nobody really is looking to create new works. However, there is a lot of work property. There is a lot of services that works can provide. So this stuff about 5 years, whether you're Muslim or not, that is just meant to create litigation and to let the government enter saying that, look, this person was not a Muslim. But to put it simply, somebody says that I am starting a work. Somebody will come and say, this person, I saw him eating, some non-halal thing or drinking alcohol. So he seems to be Muslim. He'll say, okay, this is not work. Now this can be taken over by the government or by whoever. That's going to create confusion.
So the bill also talks about inheritance rights. So there is an amendment which says that there should be no denial of inheritance rights to the donor's heir and including women heirs. So what does
Yes.
this mean?
So what they're saying is that, as per Muslim personal law, of course, women have always had a right to inheritance, and since the 8th century. It has happened sometimes that a person does not want to give their property to certain children and wants to give to the other children. So people think of via medias. One way of doing that is what's called a hiba, gift. So there is no restriction under Muslim personal law regarding gifts, but there is restriction regarding succession. That you can only will away part of your property, the other part of your property has to go as per Muslim personal law. What people try to do is they gift it during lifetime and say that, look, because there is no restriction regarding gift, so now you're out of it. It's now belongs to my favorite son or daughter and not to my sons and daughters or whoever who I do not like as much. When they say that we're going to save inheritance, they're saying that we are going to keep it within this stream of succession. You can't take it out of that stream. You can't give it to somebody else. You can't have a separate system, which again doesn't make much sense because, okay, I can't then create a waqf, right, which is going to disentitle one child or whoever, but I can certainly gift it. I can create a trust under the Indian Trust Act. I can form a company and put it there. So this is just designed to kind of create an issue where there is none. People will feel that Waqf as a concept is under attack, and people will try to defend it.
So the new amendment also says two members should be from the non-Muslim community, and there should be
Yeah.
two women in the council. How do you look
Yeah.
at these amendments? And should non-Muslims or non people belonging not to that religion be part of any religious body?
I say why not? But then whatever rule you have it uniform, right? Whether
Right.
there are, are you going to then say that on temple boards there are going to be non-Hindus? Are you going to say that on the diocese, the church, you're going to have non-Christians? Are you going to say that there are some of the jathedars who have some administrative position over certain gurudwaras, certain Sikh holy places? There have to be non-Sikhs. It doesn't make sense. It is a religious undertaking. In an enlightened world, certainly. But I ask you in return, are we in an enlightened world where it will be seen in that spirit? Considering that, it seems to be one more attempt of the BJP to try and create, as I said earlier, an issue where there is none.
So this is the second big step by the union government after the abolition of the instant triple talaq. Do you think
Yes.
government should play a role as a reformer in religious or social practices?
Short answer is yes, they should. They definitely should. But see the difference between a personal practice, religious practices, and say something like criminal law, something like companies law, is that you are trying to change how people live. For instance, look at the child marriage restraint. Child marriage restraint has been in a law for 40, 50, however many years. Has it ended? No, it has decreased. But I don't know how much of that credit goes to the law itself. There have been educational campaigns, there have been social campaigns, movies, politicians, social activists, on the ground movements. When you kind of bring in this awareness that this is a problem, you increase female education. So, and these are international trends. When you see that, okay, to solve this problem, I have to take these steps. So if you're saying that there is A problem or B problem or C problem with religious law, the personal law, there of course will be. For instance, in the Hindu personal laws, when they were brought in 1955, the Hindu code, after much opposition by, even within the Congress, by those who considered themselves very devout Hindus, there was opposition, and it has taken us the better part of 70 years to come to a position where women have the same succession rights as men do. So these are processes. You can, if somebody believes that, a certain garment is to be worn, somebody believes that this is how I'll dispose of my property, law can only do so much. See, law can, you can apply the danda doesn't achieve everything.
True. So my last question is, the bill also empowers state governments to nominate members in the Waqf board, and district collectors can determine whether the property is Waqf or not.
Yes,
Is it not direct interference of the government?
it's a recipe for disaster anyway. You're empowering one officer. See, laws are made, rules are made with what assumption that these are the rules that we will all be bound by should things go wrong. If people are perfect, if intentions are perfect, we don't need anything, right? We just need to be. So imagine somebody, there is I believe the most egregious example of a work property perhaps being misused is Antilia in Bombay, where it was apparently used to be work property. There was an orphanage there. What's stopping some collector, rightly, wrongly, mistakenly, from declaring some property as government property which used to be work property? Because this act is very strange. It says before or after the commencement of this act. So what happens if something has been work property forever, and now somebody, the collector, decides, no, I need this for a governmental purpose. So what do? You destroy the structure, you throw people out. So this just makes no sense. Property laws are dependent upon one thing, which is certainty. This is my property. The law recognizes it as such, and it will be treated as such. If you say that from now on, your property is going subject to what this officer thinks, that's a recipe for absolute and complete disaster. I don't need to go into detail. I mean, how, builders, encroachers, even people who perhaps may be well intentioned, of how properties will be distributed, uh, processes will be perverted. That's going to happen. A lot of litigation. Good news for lawyers.
Sir, but what is your expectation from the parliamentary committee that has been formed? Do you think it will be able to bring positive changes to the bill?
One can only hope. The government, being the current government that we have had since the last 10 years, does not seem to listen to reason very easily. However, I read somewhere that it's perhaps the first bill that they've referred to a JPC, Joint Parliamentary Committee, in the last 10 years. If that is so, then there is clearly some thinking within the government that some changes are required, some more consultation is required. As I said, reform of Waqf by itself cannot be questioned. Yes, there is need for reform, but there is a need for conversation about it, not a prescription from up on high. So yes, I mean, one can only hope that it helps.